Hey you guys, Happy New Year. I hope you made it to 2024 okay. It was really crazy here. Not the whole fireworks thing, but just this was the first Sylvester, is what we call it, that we spent just the two of us and our kid and one friend because we were sick in advance and basically everybody had COVID. And so it was really like last minute and let's just go out and see the fireworks like that. Yeah, but what about you? Are you all about New Year's resolutions? I even downloaded that weird app, that is all over TikTok, which is like the ADHD friendly app, and you can check off stuff from like checklists, because that's what TikTok people think they have ADHD do, I guess. But I tested it just to see, and it's actually not helpful. So if you're thinking about downloading that, just don't. Anyway, I actually like the idea of New Year's resolutions because like the new year is such a shift, like the year ends, the cycle ends, and in my opinion, it's actually a good idea to make that also a new beginning for yourself and a fresh start and this clean feeling like you go to university for the first time and walk the holy halls of studying, or the first day in a new school, or the first day at a new job. It is just the same. It's, in my opinion, it's powerful. But people are always like, oh yeah, the resolutions, they're out the window like 3 weeks in and you're not going to the gym anymore. Yeah, because you're doing it wrong. And also I don't think that this whole habit builder shit, like, oh, it needs to be 30 days until you build a habit, and then others say it's 60, and then some other coaches say it's 90 days, whatever. It's about showing up for yourself daily. I don't do that all the time. I'm not a perfect example, but at least I'm trying. And I think if you can check off at the end of the day that you at least tried, and then you can kind of, track yourself and check in with yourself. How often did you actually care? How often did you actually try? Like, not just think about trying, how often did you actually try? I think that can make a difference, right? For instance, something that I really want to keep up with this year is journaling. And I'm absolutely not a fan of all these mindfulness, what is it called? Not awareness, but self-improvement, right? Self-improvement, self-optimization. You're not a machine, dude. You don't need to be optimized. You need to be in tune with yourself and get to know what you need and what you can do for others and for yourself. So you're not a machine. You're not to be optimized. You're not a function man. So I don't like this whole journaling thing that is going on these channels. So for me, it's not that. It's more like a daily habit. And I also want to have this journal for my kid to maybe in a few years read and be like, oh, this is what life with my mom was like. And this is interesting. And those were her thoughts. And that is what I did. And so I'm documenting things from my life, just things that happen. And by the way, I remember my mom saying to me one time when I was little, she said, oh, a diary is about writing down your thoughts, not about documenting what happened, not about just writing down what happened that day. And for me, it's really just not like that. First of all, I do not like thinking about myself and analyzing stuff all the time. I mean, I have done a lot of introspection, both in therapy and alone. And I don't want to think about myself all the time. I rather like to think about plans, about stuff that I do or did, about things that are going on in life, not just my life, about stuff that others do or think or say and what that means for me, but not so much about, oh, what do I make of this situation? How did I feel today? What was my mood? Was I productive? This whole self-assessment thing, that's just not my thing. Yeah, and so journaling for me is mostly about just writing down what happened the day. And I find that way more therapeutic, by the way, than just, yeah, writing about your emotions or some crap. Like, fuck that. So, and not to say that it's not good to be, to know more about yourself and your emotions, but I just feel like at almost 40, I've done enough of that, so I'm not interested. And yeah, let me know what you think, what your intentions are for 2024. I want to make this a successful year for myself, but I'm also a very, very pessimistic person, so I'm never like, oh, I'm gonna hit 50k subscribers this year. I would love that, but yeah, I don't believe in myself to that extent. I'm just gonna go with the flow, and instead of focusing on goals like what everyone says, I am more focusing on habits, because it's the same with like healthy eating. You can say, oh, my goal is to lose 10 kilograms or something, but there are two roads to this target, right? There is road number one, which is I'm going to focus on my goal, minus 10 kilograms. And then there is road number two, I'm going to focus on living a healthy lifestyle. And you could also calculate like how many calories do you need to eat, kilocalories, do you need to eat each day to be in a deficit to reach your goal by, I don't know, March. And then you can work on that, right? I mean, you can do that to a more or less extreme extent and with more or less intention. But in my opinion, it's easier to work on like everyday habits than it is on, just some far away idea to have that in mind every day and to remember that. You have to be a very driven and disciplined person to work with that kind of motivation. For me, that is not really a motivation, but at the end of the day, if I can say, oh, I really ate healthy today, I cooked for myself and my family, I made a nice meal, we lit the candles at the table instead of just sitting there and wolfing it down, and not looking at each other, and I don't know, even having the phones out or some shit like that, which really nobody needs to watch TV while eating. Nobody needs to have a phone in the same room while eating. Just, if you want to do one thing for your mental health, stop putting your fucking phones in the same room as you while you're eating, sleeping, or taking a shit. All right? This will help you tremendously. Like, just, dude, take a mindful shit for a change. All right? Or do mindful dishes. Like, as like Thich Nhat Hanh said, like, if you do the dishes, you just do the dishes. Was that him or his friend? I don't know. In some book I read that. So if you do the dishes, you just do the dishes. If you take a shit, you just take a shit. If you're falling asleep, you're just falling asleep. You're not listening to a podcast. Most people cannot do that. And that is fucking sad, because you could do that 10 years ago and now you can't. Remember? Think about it. Why is that? It's not because the accessibility of media has become so awesome and is such an enlightenment. Because if it was, you could remember what you watched last year this time. What did you watch? How did it change your life? You don't remember that because it wasn't significant, but you will remember sitting by the fire and exchanging stories. You will remember that one vacation. You will remember maybe even one video that made a change in your life. I know I did. I watched a bunch of videos from creators like Peter McKinnon's, Truthless, or even Casey Neistat, the big ones. I remember some of their videos because they were like films and they made me think. But most content, and I include my content in that, just doesn't do that. It's just an addition to this whole feeling, to this whole mass of thoughts and emotions, which shapes you in a certain way, but also doesn't really influence your decisions that much. And in the end, at the end of the day, you are tired, you have some idea of what you want to be in your head, but you're not really working on it, you're just letting it sink in, and you believe, oh yeah, this is going to do something with me. No, it's not. The only thing that does something with you and for you is the things that you are working on with your hands and your brain, and you're doing it on a daily basis, so it really becomes a habit. and it makes you happy and it fulfills you in some way. Not everything has to be great. Like a job which you need to provide for yourself, it doesn't have to make you a happy person. But it needs to give you some purpose, or you need to have some purpose attached to it. Like, if I get that money, I'm going to do this and that with it. That's going to make me happy at the end of the day. Not in 2 years, at the end of the day. So I hope that for 2024, you can find purpose in this idea. You can maybe adopt this idea for you, because I think it's one of the good ones, to just create happiness and purpose in everyday small things and everyday habits. And at the end of the day, to look at yourself and be like, what good thing did I do today? Happy 2024.